Hi guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Damola. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you are welcome. Please do well to click on the subscribe button, and also don't forget to turn on post notifications so you get notified whenever I post a new video. So in my previous video, I made a tutorial on how to cut and sew baggy Ankara pants. So this is the concluding part where I'm going to be making the elastic waistband. Now note that this waistband is not baggy pants specific. It can be used for your streetwear as well, the likes of your joggers, your free pants, your shorts, among others. Okay, so if that sounds like something that you're interested in, you definitely need to keep on watching to the end of the tutorial. And without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it. So here is my pants. As you can see, I'm already done sewing and I've gone ahead to overlock it. The next thing I need to do now is to go ahead and fix my band. Okay, so now most times when you are working with pants that requires elastic band, the waist is usually very big. Most times I just use my hip measurement as my waist measurement when I'm drafting. Okay, so at the end of the video, when I'm done fixing my elastic band, is going to create a ruffle that is going to bring the waist of the pants back to my actual measurement. Okay, another thing I want you to notice that sometimes the front of your pants might be bigger than the back of your pants. Ideally, the back of your pants needs to be bigger than the front part of your pants so that your side seam is going to align on the side. Okay, the only time you won't have your back extended to the front like this is if you use the same measurement to cut both the front and the back. Okay, so since we've gotten that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and measure the front waist part of my pants. Okay, and after taking my measurement, I have 19.5 inches. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to the back, and I'll be taking my back waist measurement also, because I'm going to be cutting both the front and the back band separately. Okay, so after taking my back measurement also, I have 25 inches, just like you can see. Okay, so after I've noted my front waist and my back waist, now the next thing I'm going to do now is to introduce the elastic that I'm going to be using. Okay, so here is the elastic that I'm going to be using for this project. Okay, it usually comes in rolls like this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and measure the length on this band, because some of them come in 1.5 inches, 1¾ inches, 3 inches, 2.5 inches. Okay, so for this one now, I have 218, that is 2 inches, and the first line after it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to be counting 5 lines on my tape measure after that 218. Okay, I don't know if you can see it properly, so I'm going to be using the end of my tape to do this so you would understand what I'm trying to do. Okay, so after that 218, I'm going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so on that point where I have my 5, I'm going to go ahead and fold my tape into 2. So now the point where I have the starting point of my tape, which is 5.5, that is going to be the height of the band that I'm going to be cutting out. Okay, so you can see now that if you get a band of a different height, the measurement that you're going to be using is going to vary. Okay, but for me, I'm going to be using 5.5 inches. Okay, so now here is the fabric that I'm going to be using to cut out my band, and I've gone ahead to draw out my starting line just like you can see. Okay, so now I'm going to be cutting the front waistband first, and our front waistband is 19.5 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that 19.5 inches. Okay, then after it, I am going to be adding extra 1 inch behind that 19.5 inches. Okay, so automatically I've added sewing allowance to join it to the back band. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and impute the height of my band, which is 5.5 inches. Okay, I hope you understand what I did. I went ahead to impute my front waist measurements, which is 19.5 inches. Then after that, I added my sewing allowance of 1 inch. Okay, and I'm going to be cutting it by 5.5 inches, which is the height of my band, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. So I'm done with the front part now, and I'm just going to go ahead and set that aside so we can work on the back. Okay, so for the back, I'm just going to go ahead and extend the straight line that I already have from cutting out the front. Okay, because the back is longer than the front. The back is 25.5 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and extend that line like so, and I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did for the front. I'm going to go ahead and impute my back waist measurement, which is 25.5 inches, I'm going to note it down and I am going to be adding 1 inch after it. Okay, then I'm going to be taking the height of my band, which is 5.5 inches, and I'm going to be cutting it out. Okay, so this is what I have for the back, and this is what I have for the front. And as you can see, the front is still shorter than the back. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and fold this into 2 equal halves, and I'm going to make it a notch in the middle for both the upper part and the lower part of it. Okay, and I'll be doing the same thing for the back side as well. So these notches are going to help us when we are sewing, because the notch is supposed to fall on the crotch area of the pants. So when I'm sewing, the crotch is going to guide me so I don't have any excess when I'm done sewing. Okay, so after I was done with that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to place both bands on each other, right side facing. Okay, and I'm going to be joining them on the sides by 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to head over to my sewing table to do that now. Then I'm going to come back to show you guys what it looks like. So this is what it looks like after sewing. So now automatically we can identify the front and we can identify the back, and also we've taken out the sewing allowance of 1 inch that we added, so we have exactly what we have on our pants right now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to determine the length of the elastic waistband that I'm going to be needing. Okay, so the actual waist for this pant is 35 inches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and measure out 35 inches on my tape measure like so. Okay, so now from that 35 inches point, I am going to count back into my tape measure by 5 inches. Okay, so when I count back by 5 inches, I am going to have 30 inches. Okay, so on that 30 inches mark, I am going to be cutting out my elastic. Okay, so here is my elastic and it measures 30 inches just like I said. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to head over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to be sewing both tip of the elastic together by about 1/4 inch. Okay, you don't need much, just go ahead and back stitch over and over again on that 1/4 inch. Okay, so here now I'm basically just sewing up the elastic and I'm just back stitching on it so it does not come loose. Okay, so after sewing that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut off my loose thread. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and introduce the actual fabric now. So the first thing I'm going to be doing now is to go ahead and open up the seam area of any of the sides. You know, we have 2 sides. Just go ahead and open up one of it and place the elastic in between it like so. Okay, then you're going to go ahead and close it up. Okay, so when you close it up, you would notice that you have 1/2 inch at the tip of your fabric. You have 1/2 inch remaining after your elastic. I'm just going to close this up so you'd understand. You can see I have 1/2 inch after my elastic. That 1/2 inch was the lines that we measured when we were taking the measurement of our elastic band. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and sew exactly on that 1/2 inch, very close to the elastic band, but I will make sure that I am not sewing on the elastic band. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew from one end to the other end, and while sewing I'm going to make sure that my notches are aligning and I am not sewing on the elastic band. This part might be a bit tricky. If you are a beginner, you might want to sew on your elastic band. Just be very careful and go very slowly. Okay, so as you are sewing, keep pulling on your elastic so that it will go all the way around. Okay, so now after I was done sewing, this is what I have. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and pull my elastic band. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull it like so to make sure that my ruffles are evenly distributed. Okay, so go ahead and pull it with your strength. Just go ahead and keep pulling it like this. That way you'll be sure that you don't have any excesses when you spread out the fabric totally. Okay, as you can see, when I spread out my band fully, I don't have any excess anywhere. It is laying really flat. Okay, so after I've gotten this out of the way, now I can go ahead and top stitch on my band. So when you have something that looks like this, just go ahead and make sure that your notch is also still aligning. Then you can now go ahead and start top stitching on your band. Okay, so now to create my top stitch, I'm going to make sure I still have my ruffles looking like this, still evenly distributed. If you've mistakenly scattered it, go ahead and spread it out again. Make sure that it is evenly distributed. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and measure ½ inch from the top of my elastic band, just like you can see me do in this video. Okay, then I'm going to make sure that my needle is inside my presser foot. Okay, so now I've placed my needle inside my presser foot, which enables me to be able to pull my ruffles this way without it coming off. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and sew on that ½ inch all the way to where my hand is, like so. Okay, that is going to make sure that my ruffles does not scatter. Okay, I'm going to pick any part of my band again, and I am going to sew all the way to where my hand is, still maintaining that ½ inch. Okay, just watch what I'm doing in the video. Okay, I am picking any part of the ruffles and I am just spreading it out to sew on it. Okay, so when I'm done sewing, the ruffles are going to come back to their original position. Okay, so just watch what I'm doing very closely. Okay, so I'm just going to be sewing from one end back to where I started from initially. So after sewing, this is what I have. I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the thread. So now to create the second top stitch, I am going to be taking 1 inch from the ½ inch that we now have on our band. Okay, so I'm going to be sewing 1 inch after our initial ½ inch. Okay, so now the process is still the same as the first one that I did. I'm going to make sure that I have my needle inside the presser foot, and I am going to make sure that I maintain the same 1 inch all the way while spreading out my ruffles, and I'm going to be sewing from one end back to the other end. Okay, so after I was done sewing, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the threads, and our band is ready. And the next thing now is for us to go ahead and fix it to the pants. Okay, so here I'm just taking out the thread, and another thing you can do is to look at the band, and usually there is one part more neater than the other, so make sure that part is on the outside of your pants. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So now I'm just going to go ahead and bring my pants, and we are going to sew the band to it, and we're basically done with this tutorial. So now here is my pants, and I'm going to be placing the notched part on the center of my front band on the crotch area, like so. You know, when I was notching it, I said we are going to be placing it on the crotch area. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and sew on that ½ inch that is remaining. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and sew on that ½ inch all the way around from one end to the other. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that the side seam of my band also aligns with the side seam of my pants. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew while also making sure that the back notch aligns with the crotch area of the back. And I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like after I'm done. So after I was done sewing, this is what it looks like. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to do for this pants now is to go ahead and overlock that rough edge. Okay, but this is what it looks like basically now. So I'm just going to go ahead and overlock, and I'm going to iron it, and I'm going to come back to show you guys what it looks like. So after ironing and overlocking, this is what I have. You can see our band sitting pretty. Okay, so if you found this tutorial helpful, please do well to click on the subscribe button, and also don't forget to turn on post notifications so you get notified whenever I post a new video. And if you have any question, I'm going to be in the comment section, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.